I always love it when people are new here for the first time and we shout, we clap, and we jump up, and we do all that. And that was the original intention of church in the first place. It was man-made church in around the 13th century that wanted people to come and sit and be real square and sit in a chair and not make any noise and not really feel, but to just be reverent and be told what to do. This is not this kind of church. We don't tell you what to do. And today I dedicate this talk to my dearly beloved Peggy Sandin. And we cry too. I can feel her here. So this little girl is headed to a Bible class. She's walking in her neighborhood to get to church, and she's rushing along, and she goes, oh dear Lord, don't let me be late, don't let me be late. Oh dear Lord, don't let me be late. And she trips on the curb, and she falls down, and she has to get back up and, shake off all the dirt off her dress and fix her hair. And she goes, oh dear Lord, don't let me be late, don't let me be late, but don't push me either. It's how we are. It's how we are. We're in our longing to be abundant, in our longing to get to this other space that we're headed. We want to rush along, but yet we don't want to be pushed. We want to change. We want something. We crave something in our lives to look different, but forbid that anybody would ever attempt to push us. I mean, we even go to a therapist and tell them 45 minutes what we're unwilling to do and talk about change for the last 5 minutes. That's right, because I've been one of those for a while, So it's a very interesting dynamic in our humanity that we want to live in a place of abundant thinking, abundant living, of a consciousness of being awake, while at the same time wanting to hold on often to old positionality. I was thinking about when I was a little girl. One of my most noted memories was to sit at the table and do puzzles with my grandmother. And I love that. And I love doing the puzzles with her. And every time, without fail, we would get towards the end and we would be looking for a piece that was red or blue. And we'd go, well, it's in there because look, it's on the box. And we would defend the designer of the puzzle. The manufacturer of the puzzle, we'd say, oh, it's there. And sometimes we'd want to hurry and we'd force fit it, right? Try to make, really push it, try to make it work. Well, in our lives, it's the same for us in our own truth, you see. It's that when you were born, I don't know if your parents told you or your guardian, or if a stork just dropped you off, I'm not sure. That's another talk for another day. But when you were born, you came with a puzzle. I don't know if they told you that. But it had the image of who you were to become on it. It had the image of who you were to become. You already made that decision before you arrived here of what your intentions were and what you were choosing to become. Pretty exciting when you look around the room and look at who you decided to come here with. I feel safe. I feel comfortable. What about you? Right? But anyway, that being said, you came with this understanding of this is who you are to be in your destination and in this incarnation. What happens, though, is that we start force-fitting moments of our lives. I thought I'd be married by now, so, that'll work. The ones that laugh, look at that, And don't look up here at me. Okay. I felt like I was destined for this dream job. This would do. I'll do this instead. Well, I knew I was here to really make a difference in children's lives, but I'm so disassociated from my own inner child, you see. And so it's the believing, if we will argue that the manufacture of a puzzle is without error, is without mistake, why in the world can we not defend our Creator that made us as this flawless, infinite, divine Spirit? That would be my question to you today. It would be of that same accord and of that same life force and of that same essence. And if people could just stop doing God's job and do their own. If people could just stop tending to what doesn't affect them and start thinking about what moves them. You know, it's like Howard Thurman, I believe he's the one that says, stop trying to do this and that. Just start being alive. Because the world will benefit from more people immersed in the power of living and to love the energy of being alive. I was just out in Sacramento for the week with Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he's coming here to our campus on January the 30th. He'll be here on January 30th. Mark your calendar, and tickets are going to go on real bump. Well, anyway, something's going to happen with that. But that's not the point of the story. He said that, humanity, that we have a virus that is going around, and this virus is, there is not enough. The virus is, I'm limited. The virus is, somebody trained me early on that if I get this, then you don't get what's due you. Somebody programmed us to say that, you can have a lot of great things happen, but don't want to tell anybody about it because, they taught that in the 14th century, so that would be selfish for you to do that. And we're still toting that, you see. We're still toting that. And we do think it's hysterical. But, the size of the width on the subways are still going back to Roman era time when the horses were that wide from the back. Look it up. I don't know what to tell you, but it's just that we have a tendency to continue to take on what's already there, instead of pushing ourselves to a new possibility of reality. Does this work for you today? I've still got a few more minutes, yes. There was a master at Silent Retreat, and his disciple came up to him and said, what is it that I need to do to be more engaged and to be more spiritual? And the master wrote on a pad, awareness. And the guy looks back, his disciple, and says, well, then what do I do? And he takes the pad back and he puts awareness, 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 ... awareness. Big word. Part of that is to say that we tend to overcomplicate things. We tend to overcomplicate them. The second thing is whatever you need as a spiritual tool that helps you be more aware, feel comfortable doing that. If it's a psychic, if it's an astrologer, if it's an opinion, if it's a friend, if it's the alignment, if it's your inner awareness, whatever keeps you awake. That is the point. What is it that keeps you awake? Life is about being awake. Say that with me. Life is about being awake. So you never hear about somebody contacting somebody in the other life and they weren't available, they're sleeping. Right? I mean, I've never heard anybody say that. Okay, so anyway, back on point. I taught 27 years ago when I first started ministry, I was excited to do one of my first workshops on prosperity. And so there were about 50 students coming, and so I went to the bank and I got 50 $2 bills, which is kind of an effort. You have to do it. Anyway, so I got the $2 bills and I gave it to the students as they were coming in. And what was so interesting was the conversation from the people that was going on about those $2 bills, because some people felt uncomfortable that they got it and didn't do anything for it. Other people were concerned about, did I have to spend my own money? Other people felt guilty about having it and put it in the offering at the end. There's something interesting about people who live their lives praying for life, who pray for change, who pray for new, and then have a mantra that says, I'm not comfortable receiving. Everybody breathe. I'm not comfortable receiving. Well, that would shut the whole universe down. If we weren't comfortable receiving, then how can that same person, be comfortable giving? Because if you have a law of understanding that receiving makes you uncomfortable, then your giving is going to be uncomfortable. But if you can stand in a place that says, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. You know, here I am, I've been praying all week, bring it on, practice, bring it on. And you can say, bring it on, and you're open to receive. You're open to receive. I mean, none of you ever didn't say to Santa, oh, you brought it, but I can't take it. I can't accept it. It's inappropriate for me to do that. Please, bring it on. I'm ready to receive. And that opens up the fact that now you can be a bona fide giver because you believe in the process. You see, you believe in the essence of that. Abundance is the principle, and prosperity is the effect. Abundance is what you hold to be true, and prosperity are the results that you receive, you see. And there are some people who may question if they know how to do this. And often those same people have an abundance of problems. I've never seen some people that can create so many problems in just one weekend, have you? An abundance of something going on, an abundance of challenges, an abundance of this, that, and the other. They are practicing abundance, but not in the direction of where they want to be with the intention of what their puzzle said initially. Does that make sense to you? And it's that kind of process that we learn to question things from a different perspective. We have a slide for that very thing. We're told all the time, you know, we get buzzwords in our society, and they're all very significant and important. And the new thing is the DNA and the DNA. Well, DNA that people self-impose upon themselves is when they just do and they're never asking why they're doing it. Example, a person will say, well, you know, my dad died when he was in his 70s, so I got to be careful. You know, it might be in my DNA. My grandmother had allergies, so, you know, I'm probably going to get that too. And, you know, and my cousin, he had problems in focusing. You know, he had some kind of compulsive something disorder thing, and I probably am going to get that. And it's just, I'm not trying to be hysterical. I'm trying to be poignant to the fact that when you do without asking, does this fit on your puzzle? Is this going to be true for you? Do you want it to be true for you? Do you want to double your life expectancy? Then you may be the example in your family, not the follower. If you want to be the most successful and financially a rewarded person, you may have to exceed what your family has achieved. But you can do that if you're willing to step into a place of your DNA being to demonstrate natural abundance. To demonstrate natural abundance. When we are refusing because we're too busy giving imprints and new prayers about our past over and over and over again, we are continuing to demonstrate that, and it's unnatural. And that is why we often have chronic pains over and over and over again. Not the only reason, but some reason, because we're so busy resisting, oh, you know, I'm still holding on to what I know to be true, instead of allowing ourselves to be pushed. Are you with me? You with me? Okay. One of the anchors that I love to use, I thought it was Raymond Charles Barker in New York that said it, and then Zig Ziglar, they said it, and then they said Norman Vincent Peale. So you can just say you said it, I think. I mean, so many people. But it's very easy to remember. Yesterday ended last night. Yesterday ended last night. And in the old days of metaphysics and New Thought, and where Don and Peggy would go with Eric Butterworth, I mean, we're talking strong teachers. They didn't water it down so you'd be comfortable. But if you came to them for the same problem, they would tell you something very clearly. If you have the same problem for 6 months, you must want it. And, right? And if you're still talking about the problem that you had last night, yesterday ended last night, and what could be potentially possible for you today, you see? What would that look like? What could that be like? People often say, well, you know, when I get wealthy, I'll start giving. The universe doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't accept bargaining. If you're planning on ever giving, give now. Then you'll be wealthy. You'll be wealthy in your understanding of who you are. You'll be wealthy in the living of there's always enough, and you will break that pattern within your DNA. That's what it's all about. There's a cute story about a minister that he's standing before his congregation, and he says, if I had all the beer in the world, I'd throw it in the river. And if I had all the wine in the world, I'd throw it in the river. If I had all the whiskey in the world, I'd throw it in the river. Well, the music director got really tickled. When he stood before the congregation, he said, shall you all turn to hymn number 365, shall we all gather at the river? Today is my 31st sober birthday. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so grateful that I changed that pattern to just do without asking. I'm so grateful that I was willing to stand in my own uniqueness when most people said, well, I can't tell you've had a problem, Temple. And I went, well, I think the fact of going to jail twice and, wrecking 12 or 14 cars, that could have been my first clue. But I'm so grateful that in that space that I started listening to the demonstrating the natural abundance that was mine. Because it takes a lot of courage and bodaciousness and boldness to stand in your truth and live your life according to what you know is true. And when you know something's true, and you do not follow it, it is a painful reality. When you accept that it's true, it's called struggle no more. The struggle is in the doing what doesn't work, not in the freedom of being in the reality that was on your puzzle all along. So there's a guy that's filling up his car with gas, and he looks over at the side of the road, and there's two men. And one man's digging a hole, and the other man's filling the hole, goes behind him and fills the hole in. He's like, what? That's interesting. So he gets the courage and he goes over and he says, what's going on? He said, I see you guys, one of you's digging a hole, and the other one goes right behind it and fills it. What is happening? He said, well, we work for the government. And he said, there's usually three of us. But Sam called in sick. So there's no point in both of us, not being able to work today. So he says what happens is, Jesse, he digs a hole. Well, Sam usually goes next and he plants the tree. And then we go behind and fill it in. So the point is, and I will say, having worked for certain levels of government, that would not be a surprise, but that's not my talk. That's not what I came here to do today. I'm going to align with my astrology and get to the point. Here's the thing. You often dig a hole of something new. It's essential to plant something else to begin in your life in order to transcend and move forward to your new place of consciousness. Thank you for being here today. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.